Hello world, my name is James Pritz. Welcome to FooBar in under 15 minutes, a segment in which I attempt to cover in under 15 minutes some library or toolset. Now this episode is actually, I'm attempting to kick off a project that I call StackFoo. It's an initiative to promote better documentation of our company's stack through foo type examples that are easily reproduced, and isolated into just the concern that you're trying to demonstrate. The background for this initiative can be found on my blog, which is b.jamespritz.com. Now today I'm focusing on ILMerge with Visual Studio 2012, .NET 4.5. It's not terribly exciting, but it's complex enough that I think it needs some instruction. If you're not familiar with ILMerge, it's essentially a tool that merges multiple assemblies into one. For the most part, people use it to ease distribution, although we use it because I think it promotes better class design, because it forces us to separate our concerns and decouple them into their own assemblies and then merge them into one for distribution. So without further ado, I'll start the timer. The first thing I need to do is I need to get the project from GitHub. StackFoo, .NET Stack. And once I get that, I'm going to go ahead and branch it into its own branch so I can keep this code isolated from the master. We'll call it ILMerge. There we go. Go ahead and open that solution. There you go. Now the solution is essentially, the base solution is just two projects. One is the implementation, that's the assembly into which everything gets merged. And this guy's just a dummy assembly to represent whatever I'm trying to demonstrate. The thing I want to highlight first is that because we're merging everything into one, we try to give them all the same base namespace with a different assembly name. So StackFoo.impl will be the ultimate target assembly. ILMlib also has StackFoo. And for this project, we're going to go ahead and add a third so that I can demonstrate what I mean by decoupling. We'll call it security to represent something a little more real world. And make sure its namespace is set. Assembly name. Okay. And we'll make sure he has reference to everything. Project references to lib and to security. And I want to highlight that they are copy local equals true. When we get to ILMerge, it will only merge in assemblies that are marked as copy local true. Everything else it does not merge in. Which actually creates a complexity that I think most people don't run into, but I'll get to that when we get there. So I need to add some classes to demonstrate what ILMerge is doing. So I'll go ahead and in security, I'll go ahead and add an interface for something real world like a user. Now I'm only going to give it, I'll give it one property for demonstration. And I'm only going to give it a getter. Now the principle here is that we only expose our objects, especially our data objects, through their interfaces. And we don't allow consumers of objects to access the setters, because that creates an inconsistency between the data store and what you have in memory. So only allowing the consumer to see the getter, it forces us to create abstractions for updating any data objects, and those abstractions are usually targeted to the update you're trying to achieve. So I'll go ahead and into the impl, I'll add the concrete implementation for that class. We'll keep the namespace consistent. And we'll call it user. We're going to make it internal. Only classes inside this assembly can actually see this class. Everything else has to use the interface. And we're going to go ahead and implement a user. And it can be a public property because it's an internal class. And I'm going to leave it so when exposed through iUser, they'll only see get, but internally in this assembly they can do the get and set, and that works for entity framework, which needs a getter and a setter for the data property. I'll do the same thing for lib, and we're going to have lib reference security. Every time I do it, every time. And in lib, we're going to add a class that references a user. We're going to add an interface. And we'll assume that lib is a business object library, so we will call it business object foo. Public. And we'll give it an iUser. Last updated by. And again, we're only giving it a getter. Add the concrete implementation in impl. Via foo. Again, an internal class. And we'll give it, we're going to do an explicit because it's an object reference and foo. What did I do wrong? Oh. That's what I did wrong. There we go. We'll implement him explicitly. Give it to you. And we're going to implement a public property for entity. So, but it has to be the concrete class. That will satisfy entity, and our interface implementation will just return good to go. And that should build. Okay, but it did not merge anything into the impl assembly. So right now, if I reference impl, I'm just called dummy, we're not actually going to do any testing here. Let's see that I actually do not have an iUser. I do have a user, I don't have a user either because it was internal, so I have nothing, I can't do anything. So the idea is we got to get iUser, the artifacts from lib and security into impl so that people can actually reference them. Close it out for now. Okay, now the other thing is I wanted to demonstrate a third-party assembly. So in security, I'm going to go ahead and add a reference to something innocuous like Soft JSON. Into just the security project. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to make sure his copy local is set to false because I don't want him merged in. Okay. And in order to force the reference, just referencing the assembly won't actually compile anything in there unless I request something from that assembly. I'm going to go ahead and add just a dummy class that references that. We'll just do a JSON token. That should force the reference. We should still have a build. Good deal. Now the next thing I need to do is ILMerge. So I'm going to use an MSBuild task, which means I need to unload him and edit him directly. And I'm going to add my build target. So this first group is an array of all of the copy local true, and that's going to be passed to ILMerge, so it knows which assemblies to merge in. The second is that tells ILMerge where to find the .NET assemblies. It will need those for the compilation, and that tells MSBuild where to find the ILMerge command. The execute command calls ILMerge, passes out the main assembly, uses .NET 4, but it's actually 4.5. That command has to be v4, and it takes in all of the assemblies that I asked it to merge. Now, at this point, I actually probably will not build because I did not tell ILMerge where to find unresolved assemblies like JSON. So I should get a build, but I got an error with impl. Okay, so in order to resolve that, I have to tell ILMerge where to find unresolved assemblies. So I'm going to go ahead and add another property. Since all of our unresolved assemblies are in NuGet packages, I'll tell it where that is. And that's where my personal project, .stack, that's where all the packages are installed. And then I need to create an array of each individual package. Right now I just have JSON, but we could add other ones. So we'd add a dependency for each package that I need. And then I'll modify the merge command, or the ILMerge command, to include all of those libraries. Take that array, for every element in that array, spit out a lib property. Reload that project. And there you go, everything merged in. Now, let me fix those references. And see that. I also have to change my reference to impl because I'm not referencing the project, I'm referencing the DLL that it created. Do a second impl. Now I should see a user. Good deal. So let's see how I did. 13 minutes and 20 seconds, good deal. Okay, so in this episode I went over MSBuild, some of the nuance of how we use, ILMerge, some of the nuance of how we use ILMerge. Don't think I forgot anything. So the transcript for this can also be found on my blog, b.jamespritz.com. Certainly hope it was helpful. Certainly hope it saved me a lot of trouble in having to demonstrate some of this stuff to new employees. Thank you very much.